I don't think there's anyone who watched Planet of the Apes and didn't like it. The movie is so wildly famous that most people know the plot twist before having even seen the movie. The film is so perfectly written to engage with the audience that not a single line of dialogue is wasted, particularly the damn dirty ape line. When the movie premiered in 1968, this line was met with uproarious applause. It signified a catharsis of emotions and the climactic end of the second act. But what truly makes this line special is everything in the film leading up to it, and how the writers manipulate the audience's emotions to create the perfect moment. The first 20 minutes of the movie are spent in the desert, with the space crew trying to figure out where they landed, with long shots of the desert and nature scenery. It's a slow start, and it may seem pointless, but it does well to build the tension and get the audience to ponder the same questions the astronauts are thinking. They stumble upon human-like apes, capturing and killing ape-like humans. The astronauts get caught in the middle, and the protagonist is captured and thrown in a cage to be experimented on, unable to use his voice due to injuries. The apes, however, think the main character is as primitive as the common animal.
You know what they say, human see, human do.
This creates something called dramatic irony, which is when the audience knows something significant to the story that the characters are unaware of. The audience knows the protagonist can talk, and they can infer that the apes would be willing to cooperate with the human if he did, at least to some degree. So we have the tension of the apes not knowing he can talk. But what are the stakes? Well, a prominent figure in ape society, as he's described, is unsympathetic to human issues and would prefer if they all had
experimental brain surgery
and were exterminated. Now we know that our main character, who we've spent 30 minutes getting to know, will be tortured in unspeakable ways and promptly executed if he's not able to prove he can communicate. This is the part of the movie when people really start to get invested. The protagonist has several attempts at communicating, most of which are foiled by other characters. The one when he writes on the ground is great at building tension because you just want to scream, "Turn the fuck around!" But when they finally do, it's too late, and the main character is punished indirectly for his efforts. This is also a moment that builds sympathy for the character, as watching him being treated unfairly makes the audience start to root for him. Making the audience care for this character is crucial at this point, because he hasn't been the most likable character, and up until the human hunt, I'm sure some audience members are wondering if this is a character worth rooting for. At this point, however, this character has secured most of the audience's concern. The moment when he is finally able to show he's sentient, it doesn't come easy. He forcibly grabs the pen and paper from the chimpanzee scientist Dr. Zira and is beaten for it. All the while, the audience is hoping he somehow gets the message across. He does, with the camera revealing the words he wrote on the paper. In the following scene, the other chimpanzee scientist, Dr. Cornelius, is skeptical, and that puts the audience in a state of dismay as they start to realize how ignorant ape culture is. This is further exasperated at the end of the scene when the villain, Dr. Zaius, doesn't attempt to use the paper airplane even out of curiosity.
nonsense.
The next scene cranks the stakes up to 11. A guard comes down to the animal cells and says that the protagonist will be gelded by the orders of Dr. Zaius, and it's entirely out of Zira's hands. As expected, he makes a daring escape, which is followed by a moderately long chase scene. This scene gives the audience time to process that, wow, he's gonna get his balls cut off if he gets caught.
If only you knew what they're going to do.
During the chase, he finds his friend in a museum, and it's a dark, shocking reveal. It shows that this film was willing to do messed up things to his characters, and subconsciously tells the audience that it is very possible that the protagonist could be castrated for realsies. Eventually he's caught. Then Zira shows up as the last slither of hope, but the ape who captured him says,
He is now in the custody of the Ministry of Science.
which as we all know is run by the villain. We know for sure that something bad is gonna happen to our hero. If only he could talk.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
This moment is as satisfying as it is thrilling. It flings us into a whole new conflict with how impactful it is. Not only that, but it reflects perfectly how the audience feels. It gives them the resolution they wanted after tens of minutes of dangling it in front of their faces. Everything from that moment he was captured has been building towards this line. The other reason the line is impactful is the way it shifts the power dynamic. Up until now, he's been treated like an animal, with disdain and malice from certain characters with no way to defend himself. Now, with only a few words, he's the most interesting creature on the planet. But what's important is that everything from the moment protagonist met the apes has been building towards this line. Every time they ignore his attempts at communication only makes the audience want to see him talk more, and the rage that comes with this line resonates with the audience, as they see how unfairly the apes treated the humans. And the key to making this all possible was conflict. Every time a conflict is resolved or dissipated, it's replaced with a new one, often with greater intensity. If he was able to communicate when he was first captured, nobody would care. So next time you're wondering why a movie feels so exciting or so boring, take a closer examination at its conflict and how it interacts with the audience's feelings.